Hey, welcome back to the Coffee with Creators podcast. I'm a creator. I've got coffee. If you guys are watching the video version of this podcast, good to see you. If you're listening, good to meet you again, or maybe for the first time. My name is robert.balasabas. I'm the host of this podcast, and really, this podcast is mainly an interview type podcast where you're going to hear conversations between myself and influencer friends, creator friends, industry expert friends of mine. Just all about the creator economy and how to make money as a content creator, how to build businesses around your content, using your content, not just on different platforms, but also outside of those platforms, memberships, affiliates, merch, coaching, consulting, sponsorships, brand deals, all of these things. This is really what we talk about on this podcast. But you're also going to hear just personal sides of my life and my story, and actually a lot about my career in my day job, I suppose. And so this episode is really just sort of a reflection back on my first year working at Uscreen. And I joined Uscreen November 22nd, 2021. I'm trying to get all my years correct because, if you're like me, the last couple years have been just a blur with, the pandemic and lockdown and all of these things. And so to me, it's just felt like one very long year, to be honest. Outside of this year, I really felt like we made a lot of improvements and breakthroughs and as a society, as a global community, and travel is probably the biggest indicator of that. We've been able to travel a lot. I'm looking back and reflecting on the last year. Actually posted this on LinkedIn just earlier today, and I was just kind of looking back, and I posted some pictures of just looking at the last year. Just traveling through and seeing different team members and things. It has just been such a joy for me to see people in person again. People that are friends, colleagues, team members, partners, customers. Just people that I get to interact with actually on a very regular daily basis online, and just seeing a lot of these folks and being able to travel, being able to speak at conferences again and be back on stage, and trying to share some knowledge with fellow creators and colleagues of mine has been really awesome. Seeing team members all over the place. I was able to go to Los Angeles, San Diego, New York, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles multiple times. Actually, my wife and my kids, we also took some personal vacations to Los Angeles, and Laguna Beach, and going to Disneyland, and all those sorts of fun things. And then we also went to New York, things like that. So I'm looking back at these conferences: Social Media Marketing World, Podfest, Vid Summit, the brief by the Marketing Brew, FinCon. Man, I'm sure I am missing some things, but it has just been really awesome to see people in person again. And so, I reflected back just of the things that I've learned this year. There's so many things that, hopefully you're the same way, and you kind of look back at different anniversaries in terms of your career and your milestones in your career, and just kind of like look back and some of the things that you have learned, and hopefully there's some things that you can take away from it every single time, every single year, every single anniversary. And I kind of reflected back on this, and I looked at, what did I learn this year? What are some of the things that were very true in my career? But also a lot of these things also, as always, kind of overflow and seep into your personal life as well. So for me personally, as a husband, as a dad, as somebody in my communities, a lot of these things also definitely applied to those aspects of my life, And so here's some of the things I thought I would share with you guys and kind of unpack a little bit more beyond like the LinkedIn posts and Facebook posts, and just kind of discuss some of these things that I've learned. For what it's worth, I hope it's something that you also take away, maybe something that I would love for you to share something with me that you have learned, whether it's like send me a DM on LinkedIn or Instagram. Would love to hear from you what you have learned just over the past year. Just kind of reflect back on the year that was the past year. So here are some things. I'm just gonna kind of rattle off and some of these things and share with you. The first one is like, be quietly supportive and consistently present. I've started to take on leadership roles, not just at work, but also in life outside of work. And having somebody like this is something that I truly appreciate. Somebody that is supportive, not in a way that they took away attention from me, but just supported me quietly. There's time and place to be supportive very loudly, but I think there's also a really time and place to be supportive quietly, to be the cheerleader quietly, but to be consistently present and always being there. I think that's really important. Be consistently present in people's lives, whether it's your colleagues or your kids or your spouse, a good friend of yours, people that are like very close to you in your circle. I think it's very important to be quietly supportive, right? And consistently present. I think that's really, really important. Listen before speaking. 3 words. Listen before speaking. I think there's there's a time and place to speak. I tend to not be the first person to speak in a conversation or in a group setting anyway. I tend to listen, observe, and then listen to what people are saying, and then really share words as if they were limited. Like, I don't want to just over talk and ramble on. I want to make sure that what I'm saying actually has meaning and has some impact in the conversation. And so this is a reminder. It's not something new for me. I've always tried to listen before speaking, but this year definitely is something that I've definitely made a big effort to listen before speaking. Ask for permission before giving advice. I think there's nothing worse than, when people give unsolicited advice. Sometimes people just want you to listen. They don't want you to speak into the situation. If you are married, this, right? There's times where people just want to vent. They don't need you to give permission give advice all the time. They just maybe want you to listen. And so before you jump into a conversation and say, awesome, like, here's what I would do, ask, hey, do you mind if I share what I think? Or do you mind if I share what I would do with you? Or do you mind if I share some advice with you? I think that goes a long way in asking for permission, because it is something that a lot of people just kind of throw out there, without asking for that permission. Talent gets you in the door, but character keeps you in the room. This is another really big one. I think a lot of us, myself included, can typically get into the door. We can get into the room. We can get a seat at the table. But to stay there is the real sort of the separator between, someone that is good and somebody that can be really great, is the character that you have. And, character is so many things, your integrity, your reputation, how you handle yourself, all of those things. But talent will typically get you in the door. Most of us here, if you're listening, you have talent to offer, you have gifts to offer that will typically get you into the door, right? It'll get you through the door. Once you get in there, though, once you get into that room, once you get a seat at that table, typically it's character that will keep you there for the long run, right? This is a fun one, and something I've always kind of like done but never really articulated, is that never eat alone. I think there's a book around this, Never Eat Alone. Never eat alone, especially when you're traveling for work or you're going to conferences, right? Always find ways. You got to eat anyway. So go and like, hey, I got to have breakfast anyway. Who is around? Let's go grab breakfast, right? It is an efficient use of your time. You're going to eat because you're going to eat anyway. And then you're going to spend time with somebody and get to know them better. And that always carries, don't have any expectations, have low expectations of what will come of that, but use it just to get to know somebody better and build that relationship deeper, right? Always break bread with somebody, whether it's your team member that you're traveling with, perhaps, maybe a partner that you work with that's also in town, at the conference, at the hotel, whatever it may be. Maybe they live in the neighborhood, they live in the city that you are traveling to for work. Invite them. Let's have breakfast. Before the conference starts, let's have breakfast. Let's grab coffee, right? I got to eat anyway. You got to eat anyway. Let's eat together, right? Or a customer, somebody that is around, right? Just have that meal, because you're having meals anyway. You got to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so never eat alone. Use that time wisely. Use that time intentionally to break bread with somebody. There's something really special about having conversations over a meal. I think, especially when you're traveling, you can't invite people to your home, right? Unless they're in your city, unless they're visiting your city. But typically, like, you invite people over to your home, and you open up your home. That's very personal, right? Come to my home, let me show you what most people may not see, which is my home. This is where I live. These are my four walls. These are private spaces for myself and my family. You'll get to see an aspect of me, a side of me that you may not see online or on LinkedIn or social media or YouTube videos, or even when you see me in person at conferences. My home it's a special place. And when you're traveling, when you're out there, you can't, you may not be home, but the closest thing that you can do is invite somebody to a meal. That's a very personal thing. You're spending time together, you're eating. You are sharing, you're breaking bread, you're sharing, that time together, that moment together to eat, right? And I think that's there's a lot of very important conversations that happen over a meal. And it's memorable, it's special, it's a special time that's spent. And a lot of things come out during meals, right? A lot of things that you don't normally talk about because you're comfortable. You're somewhat opening yourself up, and the other person hopefully is the same. Let's have a meal together, right? Let's talk beyond just the surface level things, and let's have a meal together. These are things where we have very special conversations. So never eat alone, okay? This is actually a proverb, I believe, but this is a man is tested by the praises he receives. Now, this is something that I have taken very close to heart this year, is that it's great to have praises. It's great to be recognized, but these praises are tests. It can be a test. It can actually be a distraction. It can really ruin you sometimes, right? Because you will be tested by the praises you receive. Okay, so what that means is that sometimes when you are praised, you are recognized, you are given these shout outs, and you're given these man, you're amazing. You're the best. You're a game changer for our company. These things can get to your head. And that's really the truth. Is these things can get to your head. And what got you those praises may now start to take your attention away from serving the people, right? Serving others, which is probably what got you those praises, because you were thinking of others. You were selfless. You were a team player. You were thinking of how to elevate your team and your company and your brand and the people around you. And if you're not careful, the praises can make you then stop serving others, and start serving your talent, your gifts, yourself, right? And that is the test. That is the downfall, right? And so a man is tested by the praises he receives. This is very important. It's actually biblical, but it's very important that you remember that and keep that front and center. There's going to be times where you're at the top of the mountain. You're the peak of your game. And you can't let those praises get to you too much, right? Take them, celebrate them, but then move on, right? Next, let's go to the next goal. Let's go to the next thing, all right? There's a couple other things that I'll share around that in just a little bit, all right? Money, the next thing. Money is a terrible master, but it's an incredible servant, okay? Terrible master, it's an incredible servant. Money is a fantastic tool, right? It's a tool. It's not something that you want to, worship and all right, man, it's all about money. The more money, more material things, right? It's a tool, and we can't be putting these tools above others, above ourselves, above other people. Money is a terrible master. but an incredible servant. Okay. Something I've learned this year very, very well. All right. As you know, as we're blessed with, money, we have to also steward this money well. All right. I've really learned that the more that I give, the more I receive. It's so simple. But money is one of those things, right? I think money is one of those things that, where your money is kind of where your heart is, right? What are you spending on? What are you investing in? Are you investing in others? Are you taking your money? Or are you just spending it on yourself? Getting more material things. Are you investing in things that impact others, right? People maybe that, the people that can't do anything for you. Are you serving them? Are you finding ways to, take the gifts that you have? Maybe your gift is to make money and to generate wealth and to generate business and revenue. Are you taking those gifts and just serving yourself, or are you finding ways to serve others through those gifts? So money is a terrible master, but an incredible servant. All right. On the note of a man is tested by the praises he receives, here's one way to combat against that, right? And that is to show appreciation. Show appreciation. Oftentimes, you may receive the credit because you're the face of the project, of the brand. And whenever you can, though, make sure that you give credit to your team. If nothing else, it keeps you in check that this was not just all you're doing, right? Because what happens here is that if you say that all right, awesome, this is all me, I did it, success, right? Mission accomplished. What happens when it doesn't work out well? Then you also feel all of that failure upon yourself, okay? But when you are showing appreciation, you are a team player, you give credit to the team when it's due, then that keeps you humble. I think that definitely puts you in a place of humility. This is not just all me. I can't do this all on my own. I've got a team behind me that cares just as much, if not more, than I do about the success of this thing that we're working on. And that keeps you really humble. So show appreciation, give credit where it's due. If you're the mouthpiece, or you are the person, the face of a brand or a campaign or a project, you're going to likely receive the recognition. Make sure that you share that stage with the people that help get you there. All right. Very important. Giving people don't greed, and greedy people don't give. I think that's the best way to battle greed, is to give. Okay. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about your time, things that you have, resources that you have, access that you have. A lot of us here, you're probably listening, you're a content creator, you're an entrepreneur. You have access. You have access to people. You have access to resources. You have access to a lot of things that people could only dream of. And that access has a lot of value. And, by giving that access, by giving not just money, but all of those things, that keeps you humble. That keeps you away from that pitfall of serving your gifts and serving yourself. And likely you'll continue to have success if you do that. All right. So giving people don't greed, and greedy people don't give. All right. Very simple. Know that there's always something more to learn. Never feel like you are at the top of your game. Never feel like, all right, I'm done. What else is there to learn? I know everything. I think there's also another saying about never be the smartest person in the room, right? Similar thing. Always know that there's something more to learn. Always look to learn about something. I'm always trying to figure out, for example, I'm how do I podcast better? How do I lead better? How do I handle tough conversations better? How do I manage my time better? I was asking one of my managers yesterday, how do you take notes during calls? I want to be a better listener. I want to be a better active listener, but at the same time, I want to take notes, and I want to make sure I follow through with those notes and things that we should be doing, actionable things that we should be doing after those calls. Always trying to learn something. All right. Never think that you have nothing more to learn. All right. Always know that there's something more to learn. Leaders are learners. I've really I've always tried to do this and be better at it, but this year for sure, I've definitely been seeking out more books on leadership, just being a better father, like better husband, podcasts, seeking out mentors. I think mentors are really hard to find. If I'm going to be honest with you, mentors are really hard to find, but I've found it really helpful to have mentors in your life or people in your life that can speak into your life as well. Have permission, that you've given permission to speak into your life. This is something I'm just learning now. It's very recent, but definitely something I'm learning now. Never bring an idea that is fully baked to a partner, right? I was at a conference last week in New York, and one of the executives there, marketing executives that worked with a lot of influencers and influencer marketing, said, they do this thing where they share the pen with creators. They have with partners. They have somewhat of an idea of what they want to do, but they want to share that brainstorming process with their partners so that we get the best out of everything. We get the best idea, the best thing to then reach, the audience that we want to reach and things like that. So never bring a fully baked, fully created, crafted, concrete idea to a partner, to a team member, without any room for brainstorming, idea sharing, right? And so never bring a fully baked idea. Have some idea, but not a fully baked one. People do business with people and not logos. Really quick thought there is just don't show up as a brand, as a company, if you can. Always know that people are looking to do business with you. All right. So don't hide behind your brand, behind the logo. Know that people want to do business with you as a person. And so you need to build those personal relationships one by one. It's not something that you can do at scale, like super fast. People want to do business with people. Even though you have a lot of customers, hundreds, thousands of customers, people are looking to connect with the people behind the brand. And so humanize your brand, right? Find ways to humanize your brand. Have a human touch, have a personal touch with the customers that you are serving, okay? And then the final one here, as again, this year has been a growth in terms of like leadership. Train people well enough so they can leave. They can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to. This is a big one, right? This is a big one. We know that people will eventually, hopefully, move on because we have done such a great job training them, mentoring them, empowering them, right? We want them to be the best person and best employee, worker, team member that they can possibly be. There's always going to be a risk that they move on to bigger and better things. That's just the truth of it, especially in tech, right? I'm in the tech space. And 2 years, I think, is like the average lifespan of somebody in a company before they move on, before they get recruited, before they eventually leave and go on to bigger and brighter things, and find a new home and all those things. But that's just we can't hold back, right? You have to train people as best as possible, mentor them, support them, empower them, encourage them, give them the best of you as a trainer, as a leader as possible so that they can leave. But at the same time, treat them so well that they don't want to. They said, no, I like it here. I love it here. I could go a million other places, but there's something about this place. There's something about working with you that I just don't want to leave. And that is such a special thing. If you can cultivate that kind of culture, then you've created something that's pretty special. And to wrap it up, I think that's kind of where I'm at. At Uscreen is that, I'd like to think that, man, there's other opportunities out there. There's other brands, there's other places to be, but what I've found here, what I've been blessed with here at Uscreen, with the team that we have, the people that we have, from leadership all the way down to everybody. It's just such a special place. The culture and, you know, the just the way that we do things. They do train people, like they're training people. I'm empowered with so many things that I could never have like really thought about that I could do even a couple years ago, as far as what I would call a job. I'm able to do that. I'm able to do that. And you know, there's a million other doors. Not say a million. there's many other doors out there. There's many other places that I could hang my hat and call home in terms of my work and my career. But I choose to stay here. I choose to be here. I choose to be part of this crazy rocket ship that is happening right now, in our space, with Uscreen, and I'm super thankful. I can't thank enough. Like there's so many people, and you know, just like I kind of mentioned in my LinkedIn post, there's so many people, all the way from like starting from PJ, who is the founder and CEO at Uscreen, Jamie Chapman, who I report to, director of marketing here at Uscreen, just a fantastic leader. Daniel Kosmala, you know, Madison, who I work with, our social media manager, Shrey Sankar, Matt Estes, Diego Quintero. You guys got to follow him on Instagram. This guy's like an international spy, I think. He just travels the world, but he's on our team. And, you know, salsa dancing all across the world. But yeah, Amir, you know, I got to hang out with him in DC. Joe Horowitz, Nick Savrov. Like, there's so many. James Johnson. There's so many amazing people here. And I'm not mentioning everybody, because then this will be like a 3-hour podcast episode. But I'm just super thankful for what we have here at Uscreen. I'm super thankful for the year that I've had. I've grown a lot. I've learned a lot. You know, got to experience so many amazing things as the world opened up, and got to travel to a lot of places and meet a lot of partners, hopefully a lot of you that are listening. And, you know, in all honesty, I'm just super excited for 2023. We're having those conversations now of like, hey, what do we want to do in 2023? What are some plans? What do we want to, you know, what do you want this thing to look like in 2023? And, you know, all the ideas, all the plans, I'm just super excited for. I'm super pumped for it. I can't wait for 2023 to start, to be honest with you. I hope that I see some of you in person, if not all of you. Imagine if we did that. But I'm sure I'll be, you know, hanging out with a lot of you in 2023. That's my hope anyway. And yeah, it's just been an amazing year. And so I thought I would just share some reflection on the last year with you. And yeah, and this podcast, my YouTube channel, has grown. That has been such a big learning experience as well. And you know, it's really cool to just see the creator economy just continue to evolve, but also grow and mature. I think this year it's evolved a lot. The things that are happening with Mr. Beast and Eric and all of these creators from YouTube that are now like building these crazy businesses outside of YouTube is, man, it's crazy. It's crazy, right? So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you enjoyed this reflection of mine on the last year. And yeah, I would love for you to just reach out to me. Send me a message on Instagram, on LinkedIn. And yeah, just let me know kind of what you're up to, what you're excited about for 2023. We are still plugging away at this podcast. I thoroughly enjoy this podcast, and so continue to expect more episodes. I've actually got an interview with an industry friend of mine in a few hours. You're going to really enjoy that interview, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be published right after this one, that episode, and we will go from there. So thanks again for hanging out with me. Thanks for your time. And I will see you in the next episode. Take care.